All right, I feel like being a little controversial today, so let's talk about cork versus screw cap. I don't have a screw cap, we don't use them. Am I biased? Yes. But here's why. One of the main reasons why we don't use them, there are obviously some commercial economic reasons, and we'll talk about that too. We make all of our wines with no added sulfur, preservatives, colorings, or flavorings. That's rare. You won't see that because, hey, unfortunately, we get a lot of our wine shipped over from the West Coast. Wine isn't really meant to be shipped that far, so it won't stand up to the trip the way that we produce it. We are producing in Massachusetts. If you want to grab some of us, you have to be local. We can ship direct to consumer, but we don't want our stuff sitting in a liquor store for months, even years, just sitting there in a non-temperature controlled room, standing up on a shelf, because guess what, it's just not going to last. We use cork. We use cork because of that natural piece to it. Cork is tree bark. Now, stripping a tree of its bark does not kill it, but it does take time to grow back in a long, long, long time. Simple supply and demand. We as consumers started drinking more wine. Cork became higher in demand. Very hard to get the supply. Price went up. So, for that reason mostly, and you're going to hear of, if you try enough wine, you're going to get a bad bottle of wine. It happens, especially in cork, mostly in cork. Nothing you can do about it, nothing the producer can do about it, nothing the cork producer can do about it. If a wine is corked, it means that it has a bacteria in the cork. It's not harmful to humans. Do not worry about it. You can still consume the wine. You'll be safe, but it will affect the flavor of the wine. So in the 90s, we were getting a lot of corked bottles. There was a lot of bacteria in the cork. And what happened was cork was also very, very expensive because we started consuming more wine. So an innovator, don't know who it is, should know, came out and said, we're going to do screw caps. Now, screw caps are great for this reason. I don't love them, but I like them for this reason. You can't get a corked bottle. It just won't happen. The cork cannot become porous, which means the wine cannot be oxidized. So from the preservation standpoint, and when I say preservation, I mean from the not getting corked, not getting oxidized, screw cap is better. And it's also cheaper. It's cheaper to produce, cheaper to put in the bottle. Those are really the three main reasons why people move to screw cap. Now, cork, don't forget we use it, so I gotta come through. Pros to cork are they're better for aging. Screw cap was primarily used on white wines and rosés. It's now being put on Pinot Noirs. I've seen it now put on Cabernets. Now, that's not a good thing. I'm gonna grimace. White wines, rosés, I said, okay, it's fine. You're not gonna age these as long. You don't need the cork to help age that wine. So I know that some people on the wine education side are not happy with what I'm saying because it is a micro amount of air. But when you're aging wine, it's best to use cork because a micro amount of air will get through the cork. Wait, but did you just say that oxygen will ruin wines? It'll get oxidized? Yes. Just like your donuts, everything in moderation. So a little bit of air helps. Too much will oxidize the wine, turning it to vinegar. So you need cork. We need cork. We age our wines. We want our wines to be aged. We make our wines to be aged in a temperature-controlled format. We are a natural wine producer. But if you don't intend on your wines being aged, screw cap, I'm gonna say it, is okay. Don't love saying it, but it's okay. Now, when screw caps go on cabs, that really grinds my gears because cabs need more time on bottle. Despite how much barrel aging they get, they need time on bottle. You don't want to drink a cab any earlier than 3 years. Mostly the way they're produced today, no later than 5. There are producers that will tell you different. Follow the producer's guidelines before aging wines. Now what I mean by that is you can pick up the phone and say, hey Vito, I have 2019 Cab Franc, how long should I age that sucker for? And I'd say, hey, you can go as long as 5 years, 6 years, but when you open that, make sure you decant it. We can get into decanting, that's a good idea. Nice job, Vito. But let's stick on cork and screw cap. So, a little bit of oxygen. It's natural, and it's romantic AF. So, when I say that, what I mean is if you went on a first date with someone and they bought a screw cap and you got that sucks. I'm sorry, that sucks. But when you have the nice of the cork, oh yeah. Maybe a second, maybe a third date, oh yeah. And it's because of the cork. We love using cork because of the natural piece, because of the aging piece. We do understand that it is cheaper to use screw cap. I guess you could make the argument that it's more environmentally sound, even though I don't like that because it's plastic and aluminum and it has to be produced. So no, I'm not going to make that argument. I talked myself out of it. We love cork. Also, if you have a Corvin, you can't use Corvin with screw cap or non-cork corks. You will see plastic corks. Those are just disgusting. Like, throw those up against a wall, you might break the wall. They're awful. They're hard as a rock. I don't know why people put them in. It's gross. You can use Corvin with cork because cork will swell back up when it becomes wet. So for those who don't know what I'm talking about when I reference the Corvin, Corvin is a machine where it was created by the owner of Keurig. You put this on top of a bottle and it sends a surgical needle into the bottle. It's a two-way needle. So one end wine comes out, the other the argon gas goes in. And argon's inert with wine. It won't oxidize it, so it replaces the wine with the argon. And you pour some into your glass. You pull the machine out, the needle comes out, you tilt the bottle upside down, wine touches the cork, it swells back up, becoming airtight or close to airtight, which means it preserves the wine much better. Corvin is a really great tool for those who are drinking really expensive wines and don't want to have to finish the bottle a night. Just like the owner of Keurig, his wife was pregnant, she wasn't drinking with him, he wasn't finishing a bottle a night, so he said, I'm drinking all these high-end wines. I made so much money off Keurig in these K-cups that I don't want to waste it, and that's how we came up with the Corvin. So, cork versus screw cap and my venting. Thanks for listening, guys.